Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon now, I guess. The day's gone away from me. Sorry, I'm just a couple minutes late. I was coming off of a presentation. If you guys haven't joined me for a community call yet, this is a place where you guys can ask me anything. So you can ask me things going on in your protocol. You can ask me totally random questions that have come to mind. Anything at all is welcome here. You can unmute yourself if that's easier, or you can put things in the chat. It is totally up to you, and I will help to the best of my ability. If there's anything that comes up that I want to chat with your primary practitioner about, I will do that as well and just let you know that we'll get with you. But yeah, the floor is yours. Who's got something for me?
Hey, Deidre, it's Emily Birchbach. I'm in the car coming back from an appointment right now, so I'll be in my office in like 5 minutes, but we have not started officially yet, so I don't know that I have any specific questions, but I wanted to listen in and just kind of hear what these are about. So thanks for hosting and making this space available.
Yeah, of course. No problem. You can totally listen in. A lot of people do just come and listen, and that's totally okay.
Cool.
What do we got, guys? Don't be shy.
Hi, this is Rebecca. I had a quick question. My son Aaron, he is just about to enter phase 2, and I was just about to start him today on like the para one and all those things, and he has a cold. Anyway, should I go ahead and start it, or wait till it kind of simmers down with that?
Tell me what symptoms he's got so far.
Okay, right now he's just got extreme, runny nose, stuffy nose. And that's it. Like, I mean, he's been extra itchy recently, and we did happen to go to somebody's house with dogs. Anyway,
Okay.
so I don't know if that triggered something.
Okay. No fever though?
No fever.
Okay. Still eating and drinking like normal as well?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yep.
perfect. Keep going. You're totally okay.
Okay.
Just go really slow. Introduce them one at a time still, just in case it makes things a little more wonky with the immune system, but I would just keep going so long as he doesn't mount a fever.
Okay. Sounds great. Thank you.
Perfect. What else?
Hi, this is Madeline.
Hey, Madeline.
Hi, I just saw an orthopedic doctor just to get an x-ray on my ankles, just trying to get seeing if there's any progress. And it looks like the spacing between the tibia and the ankle has gotten actually a little bit better.
Great.
But I noticed that, or they've noticed that a lot of the spacing in the other joints right below the ankle have like really narrowed, and it's causing like that bone grinding. And of course, they always want to talk about fusion surgery. And so I wanted to know a little bit more just from like a homeopathic standpoint about fusion, because I know that it involves a bone graft and screws. And I'm just thinking about how my body did not react well to root canal surgery. So it kind of sounds almost like the same thing with like the joints. Like, what are things that you would consider with that?
Are you still experiencing any pain?
Yes, lots of pain and limited mobility.
Okay. So some of my first thoughts would be anytime you put an implant in the body of any kind, you are introducing a foreign substance, and given your history of immune dysfunction, it might not make sense because you might have an adverse reaction, especially with like everything with the Lyme and then the root canal and everything. I'm just a little bit more concerned that your immune system might not tolerate that well. I'm wondering if instead it might be worth doing more connective tissue supports in particular. So thinking about things like, gosh, what's the one that's like on the tip of my brain? Starts with a G. It's there. I'll think of it for you, Madeline. But I'm wondering if it's more of like a nutrient issue to support connective tissue rebuilding and replenishing itself to give you a little bit more cushion between those joints, especially since you are seeing some improvement in one area, but not all of them.
Yes. What can you explain connective tissue a little bit more? Because I keep, like the doctors keep telling me about, oh, you have connective tissue disease along with all this other stuff. And I don't quite understand what that means.
Yep, absolutely. So connective tissue is really, we have different tissues in the body, right? We have muscular tissue. Typically, we're thinking about skeletal muscle in terms of like the muscles on your body. And then connective tissue is the tissues that actually hold us together, for lack of better words. So it's the ones that are connecting bones together and then also muscle to bones as well. So that's what you're primarily seeing within the joints. Now, given your history with Lyme and chronic infections, the thing to understand is that Borrelia and those spirochete bacteria in particular are known to go towards connective tissues because they are more susceptible. So when it comes to connective tissues, they are not as responsive to things that go into the bloodstream. So for instance, when we think about Lyme and how it's conventionally treated through antibiotic treatment that goes into the bloodstream, it doesn't reach the connective tissue where those bacteria actually live. And so it can be ineffective from that perspective. So knowing that, it means that those bacteria have likely damaged the connective tissue within the joints with the muscles, causing a lot of pain, like more like the bone on bone grinding and limited mobility issues. So it just means that that needs to rebuild. Some of that can be rebuilt over time. I do strongly believe in the body's ability to rebuild, especially once you remove what's causing the damage and depletion in those areas. But that's what I'm really thinking about. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does. And that's hopeful to hear that there's still like things to do that doesn't have to jump right into like surgery or like restructuring my foot or anything.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think that's going to help with pain necessarily or mobility issues. It's just going to make it more stagnant. So you're not getting the movement that's causing the pain in particular, but it might potentially create a new unknown issue potentially. I'll get with Anna to see about what we want to do there in terms of support from like a dietary or supplement perspective that's like a higher therapeutic dose to see if we can help with some of that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course. No worries, Heidi. It's all good. What else?
Hi, Deidre. It's Kayla.
Hey, Kayla.
Sorry if I sound out of breath. I'm walking on the treadmill. So Clay's about 10 and a half months now. He's been exclusively breastfed. We have implemented solids, and he loves those Serenity meat pouches. A couple questions. Number one is, we did try because my supply tanked when I got sick. I've gotten it back up since, but I'm still kind of getting a little nervous. It's kind of up and down. So we have been giving him some hemp milk.
Mm-hmm.
We tried ghost milk formula. He immediately got hives. That was a big no.
Okay.
And so I kind of talked to Elise a little bit about this, and she was saying, they talk about how 1 year you could all of a sudden switch over to cow's milk, and like really you could probably start that gradual transition now if you wanted to hemp's milk, and then that way by like a year, just because also my diet's so limited, I'm ready to eat again, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I also want to do the best thing for him. So wanted to get your thoughts on that. And then my second question is, he really just does like lunch and dinner. We don't really do breakfast because for one, I don't really know what to give him at this point, even for breakfast. So breakfast ideas that are higher protein, other than like eggs, maybe he could tolerate eventually, but I'm still just not sure. So we did the MRT test actually. So I'm hoping that'll give us some answers, but breakfast ideas so we can start incorporating that too.
Okay, awesome. That was going to be one of the things I was thinking about. So there's a huge spectrum of what happens with kids before a year old, right? Some of them totally wean at 6 months and then they're on solids and good to go. And some kids, food is just fun until they get past a year, right? So there's no right or wrong necessarily. It's just like what makes the most sense. I would start thinking about introducing more solids. So like you're thinking about like, how do we start incorporating breakfast and having it be like, maybe not only 3 meals a day, but starting to incorporate snacks, which might actually mean that he can be less reliant on the hemp formula or even goat's milk. And that's okay too. So I think there is sometimes a misconception with babies that you have to give them some type of milk or formula when they stop breastfeeding, and that's not necessarily true for all kids. Sometimes kids just stop breastfeeding and go straight to solids and they're good to go, right? So don't, I think the big thing is I would just say stay open-minded in terms of like it might not need to be a formula or a milk substitution when you get to a year, especially if he is getting what he needs nutritionally via food. So okay, remind me, you said no eggs. What else?
I've like tried eggs on and off, and he's just kind of like randomly flary. So I
Okay.
can't really tell. I'm hoping. I know the MRT isn't like
Sure.
100%, but I don't know what your thoughts. We just decided to do it.
Yeah.
I don't know what your thoughts are, if that will really help give us answers, because he just has little reactions. So it's really hard to tell if he's like,
Yeah.
the goat milk formula is like the only thing in the past 6 months that he's like majorly reacted to.
Perfect. And you're doing the MRT on him, correct?
Yes, we did it last Friday.
Okay.
So we should get the results this week.
Perfect. Okay, so I do like the MRT. I think it is a great resource to tell you what's happening internally, even if you're not seeing an outward response, or it's really hard to track that because ultimately the MRT is testing the other two branches of the immune system that are releasing chemicals in response to inflammation. And so it's going to give you more subtle reactions to things. When you get that, we can certainly help you walk through that, but we're really thinking about things that are in the yellow or the red. The red are going to be like the big bad things that we really want to avoid for him more than anything. In terms of breakfast, two thoughts. One, you could consider doing something like a breakfast sausage if you're making those, if you're doing one like an Applegate one or something like that to make things easier, a chicken sausage, those things can go really a long ways for kids. Think about protein primarily, because if we're thinking about replacing a formula, we're really thinking about trying to emulate what we're getting with a milk source, essentially. Protein, fats, and a little bit of carbs. So protein is going to come first. And then we really want to be thinking about some level of fat. You can get that with a sausage. You could start introducing things. Avocado might feel a little scary if he's still itchy, but maybe like a little bit of fruit, things like that can be helpful there. And then also just think about cooking oil more than anything. That might be plenty for him at this point in time. The other thing I will say is since kids don't have this preconceived notion of what breakfast should look like yet, every meal can be breakfast. So if you have things where you have like chicken or steak or things that you're normally having for lunch or dinner, those can be breakfast too. And that's totally okay. We're just thinking about it being well-rounded and protein first more than anything to keep him satiated, which is just going to help with like the whole weaning process and coming off of formula and all that.
Okay, great. And I just been making the hemp milk. It's not even like a hemp formula. So is that going to do any, I mean, if he likes it and will drink it, is that beneficial in any way in addition to the solids?
It's not bad by any means. I think
Okay.
it definitely can be beneficial so long as he's tolerating it. Not a bad thing. More than anything, I just want you to feel like reliant on that as like a primary fuel source.
Yeah. Okay. It's more just like the comfort thing of having a bottle until and then I've also heard trying just doing meat stock in a bottle. So I might start incorporating that too, but.
Right.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Okay, of course.
Okay, I'll jump in. We're pre-protocol. So lots of details to dig into there. My daughter, here's my specific question. My daughter, swollen tonsils, history, mold, history, lots of underlying infections that we've treated. H. pylori has been a big one for her. The last time she had swollen tonsils, we had actually treated H. pylori and then the tonsils went down and now they're back up again. And so we haven't done, we just signed up this weekend. So we're gonna start this process. My question is there anything in the meantime while we wait and begin this process that we can do to help from like a sleep perspective? I've got her on like DHIST junior right now. Is there anything else that we can help like buy us time while we uncover what's going on?
Totally. And you're thinking primarily about the tonsils being swollen? Like
yes.
it's impairing sleep and breathing and things like that, right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
Are you doing any lymphatic drainage on her right now in terms of like just rubbing her? That's what I would start with. You can just do this just with your hands. You can use a lotion. You can also use something like castor oil as well. And you're just gonna try and rub the lymph node in like her throat as much as possible. So the easiest way to do this with kids is to not make it like a thing. It's just like, hey, come over and I'm gonna give you a little rub down and massage and it's gonna feel good. You're gonna wanna do it to the point where it is still comfortable with her. So just communicating like, does this hurt? Is it painful or anything? If it's really sensitive, you might not be able to press very hard by any means, and that's okay. But we're really thinking about a couple of key things on her body. So first, you're gonna wanna go from her clavicle out in particular. So thinking about moving out, because this is gonna be moving it towards the lymph node in the armpit in particular. And then you're gonna think about pushing down as well. So think neck from her lymph node out to her clavicle, down from the armpit as well. There's a video we can send you. There's a lymphatic drainage just called Dr. Perry's Big Six. I can send the video for you, but it's really easy just to do self-massage. But I would just think about gently starting to do that for the time being. Is she breathing with her mouth open while she sleeps? Okay.
While she sleeps.
Okay.
Not during the day.
Okay. Okay. That'll kind of come with time, I think, more than anything. If you can try, if she like catches herself, because she's obviously not doing it during the day, which is good. But if she like wakes up and she realizes her mouth open, close her back up and breathe through her nose if we can. I'm thinking about a throat spray for you guys. I want to check with Julia just because I know you guys have a little bit more of a complex case. I want to just double check with her that sounds like a right fit because she has more of an extensive health history. But I will check with her and let you know.
Cool. That's awesome. Thanks, teacher.
Yeah, of course. All right.
Hi.
Hi, Vicky.
Deidre. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. We're into phase 2 right now. Sorry, in the class. We're into phase 2 right now. About 2-3 weeks into phase 2 with the para 1 and para 2s. And we're also still taking all the foundational things. I guess our biggest issue is just not seeing any major progress when it comes to the itch and the flaring full body right now. And I just feel like a broken record every time we have a call with Sarah about itch and that being our biggest thing. And it's just been really hard mentally and just draining for everyone. He's 3, so he knows, what's going on. And he really just truly can't control the scratching. And it's killing us. We're screaming at him about it, and he, like, middle of the night, even with scratch sleeves on, he took them off last night and just went to town. So just, I don't know, trying to stay positive and trying to be hopeful about everything, but just been really hard sticking with it.
Yeah, I totally get it. Have you come down on the dose to just 1 time a day like we talked about?
Compare it to, yeah.
Perfect. Okay.
And we don't notice like a major reduction.
Sure. Totally.
Like it's not like anything instant like.
Okay. And I know you guys are doing the histowheel 3 times a day, right? Tell me about when you're doing that.
Morning when he wakes up after the para 1.
Okay.
Once at daycare, they'll give it to him right before lunch, the 3 drops. And then once at night, we do the settle and soothe.
Okay.
So we'll do it before the para 1.
Okay.
Before the modified citrus pectin, I'll do it one more time.
Does he seem mostly itchy at night? I know it's all the
no
time.
Like consistency with it. Like some days it'll be the nights are always itchy.
Sure.
The daytimes, like when he comes home from school, sometimes he'll go like a whole 4 or 5 hours without scratching and just playing and being happy.
Okay.
And then the next day he'll be an itchy mess again. Like it's not consistent enough to really know any sort of pattern to it.
Okay.
Or to say like something certain that we changed is working.
Okay. Can we try to give him a dose of the histowheel or the settle and soothe before dinner in particular? Because I'm wondering, I want it to be 20 to 30 minutes before dinner, if possible.
Okay.
That way we can try and get ahead of some of the histamine production that's likely happening as a response to food. To like send him into the night ideally a little bit less itchy so that he can get through the night, and that one is going to allow the skin to heal, because when kids are itchy and they have wounds, like I know he does, it can be a little bit tricky because the skin is trying to heal, and that can be itchy, but it can also be a histamine thing. So it's like the tricky balance of, is the skin healing and we're itchy, or are we itchy because of histamine? So if we can try and get that in place, that can be helpful. What about bandages? I know he has like some bigger wounds on his body. Could we put some bandages on like some of the more prominent ones on his face in particular overnight?
The chin is really bad. It's really raw, and it's been really raw for over 6 weeks now, because he would just sit there at night and just rub on the sheet or with his mittens. I could try that big bandage on his chin, but we've also tried that visco paste wrap on like his legs and stuff with gauze covering it, and then like that colorful bandage covering that. And that really does seem to heal him. But then we just can't keep it on like every single day. Hold on, give me 1 second. The kids are kind of loud.
That's okay.
We just can't keep it on every single day.
Okay, totally. I'm thinking more like just at night in particular, like just overnight when he's like a little bit more prone to itching, because a lot of detox and a lot of healing is going to happen with the skin overnight. So if that could just happen during that time, that would be great. Don't feel like you have to like send him anywhere with it. There's one other thing I want to chat with Sarah about to see if it might make a fit for him. So I'll probably touch base with you later today. And then my other question is, where is he going during the day?
Daycare.
Okay, tell me about the daycare. Is there any chance that they have something going on in the daycare as far as mold in particular?
We just took care of the mold at our home. Like, we just finished remediation, so we haven't really approached them yet. We will, though, eventually.
Sure.
Kind of ask them. It's just kind of a touchy, sensitive subject. That we wanted to see if resolving the home stuff would do anything first. But
totally.
It's a bigger daycare, like a franchise, and everyone there seems well and fine. And he seems to be the only one with anything going on.
Okay, no worries. I totally get that. Might need to be a conversation, might not need to be a conversation. Home is way more important for sure, hands down. Just because he's spending the majority of his time at home, even if he is gone all day.
Again, there's no certain pattern. Like, he can have like a 3-day weekend and not be at school again, and he's still really bad at home. So it's not something like we notice for sure when he leaves school.
Sure.
He's like much better or anything. So
totally. Okay. Let me chat with Sarah about something, and I'll get with you later today. I'm just wondering if it's more of like an autoimmune presentation that we want to be thinking about.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Hang in there. I know it's tough.
Thank you.
What else?
Hi, it's Lauren. I had a quick question about, I know we're not near the conception cycle yet, but I had an appointment with my reproductive immunologist, and he kind of stated that our protocol moving forward is to start with the 40 milligrams of prednisone and IVIG with a positive pregnancy test. And so I wanted to see what your thoughts were on that, because the prednisone, I was up to 50 milligrams and it was incredibly hard on my body. So I just didn't know if you felt like that was going to be necessary in the future after we complete the protocol, or...
Yeah, great question. So ideally it won't be necessary. With your unique presentation, we're thinking about immune over activation. And so we're really thinking, and that's what the prednisone is for, is to calm that down so we can have an appropriate inflammatory response at the point of conception and that positive pregnancy test. It's very possible that might not be necessary in any way, shape, or form in an increased dose. I understand why they're making that recommendation, because they're missing part of the picture. But it may not be necessary once we take the burden off of the immune system, especially given the findings that we know are there with your immune system and just toxicity.
Okay. And then the other question I had, I'm guessing it's because I'm only on phase 1 and I'm about to transition to phase 2. But now that I've weaned off all of the medications that I was on, that my RI put me on, it seems like my symptoms are like present in full force. Is that just because I haven't gone through like the detox phases yet?
Yep, exactly. And in that first phase, what we're doing is we're starting to turn on detoxification. So the thing to understand with toxicity in the body is that it causes a lot of liver dysfunction, which ultimately turns down the ability of the liver to do that natural metabolism and elimination of toxins as a whole. When we start to bring in those drainage supports in the beginning, we're starting to turn those processes back on. So it's kind of like turning the lights on in the house. When that happens, you can ultimately toxins are starting to recirculate again and move through the body, which is a good thing, but you can start to get a little bit more symptomatic in that phase as well.
Okay. So when would you expect, I guess, what point in the protocol would you expect the symptoms to resolve?
I'm pulling up your protocol right now. I am thinking it should happen here pretty soon. How long have you been on your foundational protocol?
I think this is like 4.5 weeks. So like I will run out of all of the supplements and plan to start the phase 2 on Friday.
Okay. And when you say phase 2, do you have the lactoferrin, zinc, liver, kidney, and TUDCA in place already or not yet?
Yes, those are in place already.
Okay, so you're going to be switching over. I think it's going to happen with the phase 2, honestly, because what we're going to do in this next phase is we're going to switch the liver supports. That's going to be helpful, but we're also going to increase mitochondrial function with the BCATP that we brought in for you. This is really important because detox is a very energetic, necessary process. So that's going to help, but we're also bringing in biotoxin binder, and that's going to help start mop up some of those things. When toxins start to circulate, that's when they're starting to cause more symptoms and things like that. If you want to go ahead and start with that biotoxin, it might help sooner rather than later too.
Okay. And then the last question I have is related to our mold inspection. So we had a second one done and we should be getting the report back sometime this week.
Okay.
Something different that he did, and I just don't know if this is going to skew results or if it's going to give a more accurate representation of results, but he wanted us to have our humidity down before he did air samples.
Okay.
So then he came back and then he kind of like roughed up the carpet in a couple of spaces to like see if more, I guess, would populate. So is that going to lead to an accurate representation or a skewed representation?
What was your humidity at before?
It was around like 56%.
Okay, not terrible. Did you just do air sample testing or did you do any other testing?
So I think just air sample testing. He believes mold. I think he might have taken a sample from underneath the our kitchen sink cabinet because I think he thinks mold is there as well based on the camera footage.
Okay. Okay, so I'm glad you did that. Camera footage is a great sign. I'm really interested to see what that comes back as. Just because based on what we're seeing with both of your tests, it does seem like there's a current exposure. So we're just trying to figure out like where it is. Can we get rid of it? I do think that air sample testing might actually end up being more accurate.
Okay.
The thing with air sample testing is it has something like a 56% false negative rate, and it's usually because all inspectors do air sample testing differently. They're typically putting a plate out and collecting air for somewhere between 5 minutes and 60 minutes, which is a very short period of time, all in all. What that means is there has to be spores present in the air at the time of sample collection in order to catch something. So I think by like roughing up the carpet, essentially what we're trying to do, because carpet is inherently kind of a sponge for dust and toxins and mold and things like that. It just catches everything ultimately. And carpet can, when it gets dirty, we shampoo it, makes it wet, dark, we like let things grow ultimately in there if there is any mold spores that have been collected there. So I think by roughing that up and like therefore kind of stimulating what is potentially in the air, similar to how it would be like if you walked across the carpet, you might actually have a more accurate look at things. Your humidity is not terribly high, so I am kind of surprised that he wanted to bring it down before, but that might also be due just to make sure that we're getting an accurate look at things having the capacity to travel through the air. My suspicion, based on what I know is true on your toxin testing and the mycotoxins that come back and the mold that those are related to, is those molds are notoriously very heavy and dense in nature, which means that they tend to be low-lying. So if we collect an air sample at like shoulder height, they're unlikely to ever get to that height ultimately. So by doing that, we're kind of stimulating things a little bit better, and lowering the humidity is going to allow for those things to be a little bit more buoyant to hopefully catch them and know if there is something there.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And don't hesitate to send that report to us when you get it. We're more than happy to take a look through it and help.
Okay, yeah, I will for sure. Thanks.
Yeah. What else? And totally okay if you're just listening in for other people's questions. Also, before I forget, I'm recording something hopefully today for y'all. It'll be uploaded on the back end of the programs for everybody, but I'm recording a full presentation on mold testing, different options, when to hire an inspector, what to do if you live somewhere where you have a landlord and you're renting, what to do if you own a home, how to find a good inspector, also remediation. So like what to look for in remediation if somebody's doing it for you, how to DIY remediation if you want to go that route, all that stuff. So I'm trying to provide as many resources for you guys if you are dealing with mold in your home so that you have access to that.
Hi,
Hey, Alex.
it's Alex. A couple things pop up for me. As far as like, I think I have like three questions. One, as far as nutrition for my girls, um, I just started doing like they're 10 and a half months and just starting. Yeah, go ahead. Just starting to do more exposure to purees. They really, I feel like really prefer doing like baby led, but because of like, I feel like I have limitations as far as like what I could feed them. I think we haven't really given any of the allergens. I think one time I gave them eggs prior to starting a program with you guys, but we had a little reaction. So the pediatrician was like, maybe like hold off. But since we started, we haven't gotten the results back, I think. But since we started like the foundationals, they seem okay. And I try to get more of the, meat pouches and stuff, just because Sarah said if, I could go more like the animal based route, it would be better. I think my question is just like, would they be okay if we expose them to the allergens after one? I think I'm just curious and nervous as far as like, trying to like all the allergens, not at one time, but, kind of like trying all of that after they turn one or even after the program, and just a little nervous about that.
Totally get it. Yep.
Yeah.
Super common concern. So when kids are having immune reactions, there's gut stuff, they have skin things happening, and parents are often feeling a lot of pressure to like get things in before they're one. And sometimes these recommendations are made with the best of intentions to make sure that we have adequate time to expose kids to these allergens so that they have an appropriate response to them. It helps reduce having an allergic response. That being said, you do have time. Okay, so the way that I usually think about things is, I don't think you were here earlier, but between like 6 and 12 months, there's a huge spectrum of what happens for kids. Some kids get to 6 months, eat solids, never look back at anything, right? And then there's some kids who take some time and everything before 12 months is really just for fun and like texture exposure and sensory development. So the thing to understand is that up until 2 years of age, children's immune systems are very malleable and they fluctuate a lot, which means that you have lots of time. Typically what we say is we want to try to introduce as many of those as possible and leading up to 2 years as possible, which means that you have like over a year to do this. The thing when they are having an adverse reaction, so like with the eggs, for instance, eggs are a top allergen, that's very common, but it might be worth waiting a little while until we get their gut in a better place, see what comes back on testing since we've been waiting for that, so that we can restore balance to things and heal and seal the gut. When there's pathogens and toxicity, what it causes is permeability in the intestinal lining. And that ultimately means that it's going to allow for food proteins to go directly into the bloodstream and mount an immune response. It's chemical, they get itchy, the hives, those worrisome things. So when we start to remove those pathogens and toxicity, that gut lining actually seals up so we can have an appropriate response. So that means you're more likely to have an appropriate immune response to those foods rather than feel like there's a restriction there. So for the time being, especially since like we don't have tests in hand and things like that, I would focus on if you, regardless of going the puree or baby-led route, bring in the things that you know they're not responsive to. Those are going to be totally safe. Don't stress over the allergens for the time being. It's just not time yet.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, great, perfect. Also, just one more thing. I've been reading like some stuff about like environmental exposure, and we're like a mile and a half from um a golf course.
Okay.
So, and you know, like we try to bring them out for like sun exposure, all these things. And I guess what can I or can we do to kind of like maybe help support the the effects of, I guess, being exposed to that, or like, you know, being close to golf course. I think there's like we're surrounded over here in Vegas, where we live. So I don't know if there's anything else I could add or probably do for them.
Yeah, totally. So first I would say, let's see if it comes back on testing, because we're testing for a number of pesticides and herbicides on the toxin test. So if they come back and we know that they are accumulating it or have some level of impaired detoxification down the liver pathways that are responsible for detoxing and eliminating those, we can support that to figure that out. Then, if we do see it, we're also going to be thinking about key things like water sourcing in particular. So when I'm thinking about golf courses and exposure to these types of chemicals, I'm thinking about water. Water is the big one. So a lot of times these can leach into drinking water and there's runoff and things like that. So quality water source. We also usually do see signs of that on the toxin testing that would indicate water is something we want to be thinking about. So that's thing number one. Typically, that's going to look like reverse osmosis. As your water purification, carbon filters usually aren't enough to get rid of those chemicals. And then secondly, the second exposure route would be air in particular. So like you said, going outside, breathing in the air, there's only so much we can do. And from that perspective, what I would say is we're all going to be exposed. Like your girls are going to be exposed their whole life. This is a normal part of our modern world, unfortunately. And what we're trying to do here is remove the accumulation or the burden, really support their innate natural detoxification pathways so that it doesn't accumulate and cause all the big scary stuff we see as far as like what those chemicals do in the body. When we support natural detoxification in terms of bowel motility, having regular bowel movements, making sure that liver's functioning effectively, and keeping some of the things that we're probably going to recommend in place from like a lifestyle perspective, once we get to your lab review, those are going to be the things that are going to be really supportive to ensure that they don't cause issues in the future. Now, if at some point in time you're like, I'm over this house and I want to move, that's okay too. It's totally up to you, but I don't want you to feel like that has to happen. There's so many ways that I think we can support a lifestyle that supports detoxification from food and nutrients and things that we can do in our own homes to reduce the burden so that when we do come in contact with those things, inevitably, it doesn't cause the big scary stuff that we hear about all the time.
Okay. Yeah, what I heard is we need to move.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that. You don't always have to move. It's totally up to you.
I know. Well, we hopefully we would want to be more, you know, around more trees and and mountains and water and everything. So, okay, great. I think just one last thing. We're using Berkey right now. What's your thoughts on that?
Okay, so I have a lot of thoughts. Are you using the filter that Berkey provides?
Yeah, the
Okay.
big thing.
Okay, so Berkey unfortunately does not filter all of the things that they claim to filter. This was like a big lawsuit that Berkey went through. It's actually why they rebranded to a new name.
Oh, really? What's their new name? Because I'm like really telling my husband we need to do the reverse osmosis and
I want to say it's Barreau. I think it's called Barreau. However, you already have the Berkey machine. The filter might not be great, but let's get you a better filter. There's a company called Greenfield. They have a ceramic filter that fits in the Berkey that is far better and actually does remove a lot of those chemicals. So that's what I would do with what you got right now. In the
Sorry,
future,
you said Greenfield?
Yep, it's Greenfield. In the future, if you do want to switch over to reverse osmosis, you certainly can. If that makes more sense as you're like making this transition, that's totally understandable. But if you want to use what you already have, that's what I would do.
Okay. All right. Great. Perfect. All right. My husband will hear from me. Thanks a lot.
All good. What else? We got about 15 minutes.
Deidre, I just had one last question. Have you found that typically after like 1 year, when a baby's been weaned from breastfeeding, it's a little bit easier to tell what they're reacting to since they're not being exposed as much through breast milk?
In a way, it can be easier just because there are less factors. Um, it can be easier, I think, because it's more of like a 1-to-1 versus like 1 + 1 = 3.
Yeah.
So it can be easier for sure. It really just depends on the child. I will say that a lot of times children's immune responses to food mirror moms as well. So usually it's like if you know that you're responding to something, they're probably going to respond. And if they're responding to something, you're probably responding but not symptomatic of it.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm not symptomatic really of anything that I've noticed at this point, but
Yep.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
Thank you.
Of course.
Hi, Deidre. I came in late to this meeting. I
That's
have no
okay.
idea how this works. Would this be the proper moment to ask a question?
Yes, absolutely. You can ask me anything. I will help as much as I can. If there's anything that I want to talk with your primary practitioner about, I'll let you know and we'll follow up with you. But yeah, how can I help?
Okay. And I came in late. I came in like 5-10 minutes ago, so I don't know if this was asked already.
All good.
And I was wondering how have you guys seen healing in children that are not able to leave the moldy situation
Yeah, good
that they're
question.
in?
Yeah, good question. It really depends on the kid. Tell me a little bit more about what you know, I guess. Tell me more. Remind me.
Okay. Also, I have 3 children at home, so it might be loud.
All good.
Um, so we know that we had mold in our air ducts, and we got them either replaced or cleaned. And then we also had mold in our crawl space, and we got that all fogged, and then we got it encapsulated.
Okay.
We haven't done any further investigating, mainly because we are going to sell the house in the spring, so we don't really want to
That's
dig
right.
up anything else
Yep.
at the moment. But she's definitely, since we moved into the home, her skin has just been head to toe like unbearable at some moments. So I know it's stemming from the mold, and we got our urine sample back and all of that, so it's confirmed. But yeah, what would you recommend doing while we're living here?
Totally. Okay, so when you did the remediation before, where you had the air ducts cleaned and the encapsulation and everything, were all of your personal items still in the home at the time?
Yes. Unfortunately, everything was still in here.
Okay, no worries. So to answer your question initially is yes, every child's different. There's so much that we can do. It just depends on the kid in terms of full resolution to if there is still a current exposure. Sometimes with current exposures, if there's something that they're still being exposed to, it can just kind of be like a tripping block where we see improvement and then they regress a little bit, improve a little bit and regress a little bit. So that being said, we're going to try and remove as many of exposures as possible. So what we might actually have you do is go through and wash as many things as possible, which will give you instructions on how to do a little bit more effectively if we haven't yet.
Sorry, I think you cut out. I don't know
that's
if you
okay.
can hear me.
Yep, I can hear you. Can you hear me okay?
Sorry, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, now I can hear you. I'm so sorry.
That's okay, no worries. So we might try to remove exposure as much as we can and have you wash things. I don't know if we've given you instructions on how to do that yet, but we will for sure. So if we can like wash personal items and like bedding and clothes and curtains and things like that, that can help reduce the things that we're breathing in.
Okay.
We might also have you test some larger things, just depending. I don't think they're here, but we had a woman who had done mold remediation in her home, but some of the furniture was still there. We ended up plate testing the furniture. It came back moldy. She got rid of it, and it helped in a huge way to bring things down. So that might be something that we consider versus like, let's just ditch the furniture for the time being, knowing that like you are going to move at some point. That might be something to consider as you get into that moving process. But for the time being, I think it's going to be helpful if we can figure out like what are the big areas that we can improve to reduce exposure, even if there is still something in the home, because it sounds like you've done a pretty good job of removing some of those sources already, which is really the key thing that we're thinking about when it comes to remediation.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I've been washing our clothes in the like EC3,
Perfect.
the laundry additive, and then I'm using obviously like a non-toxic, safer laundry detergent. But I haven't thought about like, I know that we're gonna get rid, unfortunately, we do have to just kind of get rid of our furniture when we move. It's the sad reality of living in mold.
Yeah.
Um, mattresses and all of our couches and things. But as far as like blankets and, sheets and curtains and all that, I do plan to wash that as well in the EC3. Would that be enough for stuff like that?
Um, Probably not. So what I'll actually
Okay.
have you do is I'm gonna totally mess up the order, I think, but you want to wash it with borax once, then you're going to do EC3, and then you do regular detergent. So it's 3 washes on the same thing, and that's actually going to help get rid of not only the spores, but the mycotoxins as well.
Okay.
I'll make sure you have the guide that goes through that as well.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
taking your time to answer.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, I've got a laundry question.
Okay.
That's a random topic. Um, we went through lots of different laundry detergents with my daughter's eczema. Everything flared because a lot of them were like plant-based, and she was reacting to all plant stuff and did better with harder chemical awful stuff. We actually just went down to baking soda alone. And we've been doing that the last couple years now. Is there any risk from and I'm thinking, I was just processing like, oh, I wonder if my son's eczema or if my son would be like sensitive or like the baking soda alone that he's been on his whole life as opposed to actually having any type of soap, if there's any risk of that.
Sometimes people can have baking soda sensitivity. It usually looks more like it's like a redness irritation where it's like flushed and pink and splotchy, sometimes itchy and burny rashes.
Okay.
But I would primarily be thinking about it in the areas of the body where there's close contact with the clothes and like a lot of chafing and moving and things like that, where you're like touching it all the time. It's not usually going to be like on the bottom of their shirt that's just kind of like loose on their stomach. You know what I mean? So if that's the case,
Totally.
that is possible. Does that seem like it fits for him?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Then
Perfect.
we'll just continue using baking soda.
Yep. Sounds good.
And maybe smelling slightly because our clothes aren't actually super clean.
Yeah,
That
totally.
could be true.
It's all good. Yeah, that's really okay. I think that works for the time being, and then at some point in the future, you should be able to switch to something else for them as well.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Hey, so Emery, my 3-year-old, is on the last part of her protocol.
Okay.
And since starting it, she also started school around like preschool around the same time, and she won't really eat, which food used to be her love language. And now she just like really doesn't eat at all. And so I'm just kind of trying to figure out what to do about that.
Okay. Is there certain things that she will eat that she likes? Is she like leaning towards a lot of carbs, or what does that look like? Like, she's got she's gotta be eating something sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, she'll eat more like carby, but even then it's just like 2 or 3 bites and then she says she's done. Like during mealtime, she'll go to lay down. So like yeah, like we'll even like make her smoothies or different things, and she just kind of will only like take a sip or something, and then she'll just lay back down and say she's done.
Hmm. Does she seem full? Is it like that she doesn't have like a hunger cue?
No, she doesn't seem full. And she definitely says like she's hungry. Um, but then yeah, like when we give her, options, sometimes I give her more options. Sometimes I just say, nope, this is dinner or whatever. But either way, she just doesn't eat very much. Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Okay. One of the first things that's coming to mind for me is zinc in particular. So my first option would be to try to get her some zinc-rich foods. Some of those are going to be things that she probably is not going to want to eat, like oysters or seafood in particular would be a really great source of zinc, or like an organ meat. Again, I know she's not going to be into that. So we might think about supplementing her with some zinc. We could do like a multi-mineral. I'll see if I can get Anna to send you one too with that as well. But the reason I'm thinking about that is zinc in particular is going to be helping with like You know how like when everyone got COVID and stuff, you lost your taste? Same kind of system there ultimately, but it can really help with satiety and just like cravings as well. Given the fact, based what we were working on with her, I'm looking at her protocol right now. I'm wondering if she just got depleted a little bit as we've moved through the phases of eradication and detox, that we just want to replenish some of that to be helpful there.
Okay, yeah, she has looked a little paler and like
Okay.
darker circles even under her eyes, but she sleeps fine.
Okay.
So I was not sure if that had to do with she's just like really not eating much.
Okay. And she's doing the FC citalopram right now, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. It could be more of like a detox reaction too with like the dark circles under her eyes. I still think minerals are going to be helpful, so we'll get you something for that. But I'm wondering if it's more of like we're killing yeast in the body with those, which is the intended purpose.
Oh
And
yes, I did tell Julia like I when she goes number 2 now, like it's
you see
like
it.
loud.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
very yeasty, gross.
Yeah, she's passing yeast for sure. So okay, so you know how when kids get sick, they tend not to want to eat a whole lot. Their appetite goes down.
Yeah.
When we get sick, ultimately that's our body detoxing. If there's something that we've come in contact with and our body is working hard to get rid of it from an immune perspective. The same thing is true when we're introducing these herbs for a fungal issue in the body. We're killing that, so we're essentially creating that detox response where appetite's going to go down. So not necessarily a bad thing, but we don't want her to get to too much of a depleted state. So it might be a matter of bringing in a mineral just to like stabilize her and help a little bit with that. I would just follow her lead in terms of like, I'm hungry, I'm not hungry. Like she will eat eventually, as long as it's not going on for like months and months and months by any means, and she's like not growing, not gaining weight, things like that. That's where I would be concerned, but I think that's probably what's happening there.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Oh, so we got about 5 minutes. How can I help?
Hi, I have a question
Yeah.
regarding the Dercot homeopathy, like cream and oral.
Mhm.
So um I just got the cream for my son. In the past, we really have only used like emu oil and jojoba.
Mhm.
And I was trying to see if just this homeopathy cream would help. But my question was, do you see the better improvement with the oral? And the other question is the ingredients of the Durcot, like for the cream, do you see that sometimes irritate their skin? Because I'm kind of like at a point where I'm like, "Ugh, I don't know if it's making him itchy or if I should just push through or any experience with that."
Oh, I don't see a lot of people using that one. So hold on, let me pull it up. I just want to look at the ingredients real quick. So what I would be thinking is, um, let's see if I can find it. Homeopathy taking orally, so the thing with homeopathy in general is that homeopathy is a very small dose that stimulates the body to do the work. And so when we take it orally, it allows for the body to decide where it needs to go most to serve that intended purpose. So I do tend to recommend oral homeopathy because it can be a little bit more effective. But the topical things can be helpful as well for more of like a local, more of a localized support. However, with homeopathy, you tend to see a very quick reaction. So you're ideally seeing a reaction within hours, if not days. So if you've been using it more than that and it's not helping from a topical perspective, it just might not be the best fit ultimately. So if you're worried about it like making him itchier or more irritated, I would maybe switch to something more orally.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, that makes sense. I have like the other homeopathy like that I'm more familiar with,
Perfect.
like the pellets and stuff that seem to help. So I'll just kind of stick with that for now.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. We got one last one. Yes, is there also a call on Tuesdays? Remind me who your primary care practitioner is, Heidi. You guys should. Yeah, go ahead.
Sarah.
Perfect. Yes. I will make sure you have Sarah's link. What you should be receiving is either a message or an email from Sarah. You should be getting this weekly that just reminds you of the time for her community call, the date and the time, so that you can join. There'll also be a link there, but yes, she should also have one on Tuesdays. These ones are ones that I do on a monthly basis. I wasn't able to do last month. I don't remember what came up, but I'd like to do these monthly for everybody in the practice so that I can support you guys outside of your primary community calls. But yes, you can come to those on Tuesdays weekly as well. All right. Well, thank you guys all for joining. We'll be back next week, or not next week, next month for a community call as well. But if there's anything that we can help you with in the meantime, and those of you who I need to follow up with, give me just a little bit of time and we will follow up with you later today to get you the answers that you need. Okay. Have a great day.
Thank you.